Welcome to episode 5 of the Total Hockey Training Podcast. I'm your host, John Schiavo. And before I get into today's guests, I just want to remind all the listeners that if you want to train with me online, I offer a complete total hockey training program on Train Heroic and trainheroic.com. It's total hockey training. And I just want to plug that real quick. And now I want to introduce my next guest, John Schiavo. John Schiavo is a 29-year-old pro hockey player. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He's a great guy, great human. He owns BestShift Hockey Training, and he's also been a 2-time inline hockey world champion. John, welcome to the show, buddy.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm super pumped that you started this, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, it's great. I just want to get into how I met John. So, I did mess around in adult hockey for a long time. When I worked for the Ducks, I played probably 5 or 6 years adult hockey, and it was awesome. I loved it. I think because, one, I got a good sweat and I enjoyed the competition part of it. But also because, you could go to the rink and kind of be low key and play with some guys and have fun. And honestly, when I started playing adult hockey again, I picked it back up in Minnesota, and it's a little different. Adult hockey is a little different in Minnesota, where you have some really, really high end players who are just maybe they're trying to get a workout, but their competitiveness and their hockey skill is legit. And I was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. And John was playing one night, and John and I, John was awesome. John was one of these guys who was superior to everyone else on the ice, and he was just trying to help an old timer like me have some fun. So I really appreciated that. Got to know John, and yeah, so that's where we're at. So again, welcome to the show. Yeah, so tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you grew up in New York, and what was it like growing up out there? And talk about your youth hockey, talk about other sports that you played, and what you did to make yourself successful.
Yeah, so grew up in Long Island, Patchogue. It's like kind of right in the middle of the island. Grew up with my mom and dad, as well as my grandma and grandpa on my mom's side. So we all lived together my whole life, kind of that tight-knit Italian family. I think hockey at the time in Long Island is definitely not as big as it is now. Born in 94, 29 now, like you said. So when I was growing up, played a lot of roller hockey, and I loved it. A lot of access to that. And then ice hockey was always a little bit more pricey, and hardworking family wasn't always at the forefront for them and for us. And I was just having fun playing hockey and training and things like that, which roller hockey filled that void. And I'm super grateful for them. But yeah, on Long Island now, it's I think even better than ever, which is so cool to see, because you got all these guys coming out of kind of like a small niche market, but it's a high level product that's coming out of there now. And I pride myself on saying, like, I made it out of Long Island too, and played 8 years pro now in the minors. And you don't need to be in the NHL to be proud of where you're from and to make it as far as we've made it.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of NHL superstars out there from the island area. Like, I know McAvoy's from out there, right? And who else?
Adam Fox as well is like a really big name. So
that's all. Is that junior goals?
Yeah, they played like goals, and then you had like the AAA Royals as well. And those were those powerhouse teams. And to be honest, I never played a single game AAA in my whole career. So
Really?
Never went to a tryout, never played AAA. I always was playing like AA, single A. And then when I turned 15, 16, I started playing like quote unquote junior C. I think it was like junior B, junior C at the time. And then that's really when I was like, okay, time to like lock in, like, and take this really serious. Cause at that point I knew there might be a chance to go to college or maybe pursue pro. And that was really when I started taking it really serious.
That's awesome. And so how were you meshing the roller hockey at that time? Like, were you, I guess, I look at roller hockey like it's popular in California where I lived, and I know there's some St. Louis hotbeds there too. But how is it in on the island? Is it a big thing? Was it big back then? Like where did you skate? Were there places to go skate? Like I know with the winter time and all that. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so the good thing about Long Island was there still is a handful of inline hockey rinks indoors. Like there's a bunch outdoors, but
Hmm.
there are just as many indoor ones. So I grew up playing at those. I had a local one called Rapid Fire Arena. It was like 10 minutes from where we lived. So it was just such easier access for us and with the price, and that I just loved it so much. Like I didn't care if I was playing ice or roller, I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I think the passion just for hockey in general came. But like St. Louis and California, I think we have a similar thing like New York, New Jersey, where roller hockey is, a, a big like grower where like you could start playing roller and then easily transition because there are ice hockey rinks everywhere. It's not like they don't
Hmm.
exist.
Hmm.
It's usually just the price. And for us, I was playing consistently, and you'll probably get a kick out of this. Like I'm playing all year round, but during the ice hockey season, when I was younger, especially, I would miss, some ice hockey games for roller games because we'd have like a little travel roller league. We'd go to travel tournaments on the weekends, similar to ice hockey, but there's not as much in the winter. It's more of a summer, where the tournaments are for roller hockey. And if we
Hmm.
had like, I remember when we were young and there was like Chowder Cup, and I'd be like, Dad, I want to go to the roller tournament instead. Like that was just such my passion at the time. And
Hmm.
looking back, I don't regret it. I wouldn't change a thing. Um, but it's pretty crazy to see like kids, dream of the Chowder Cup and all those showcases. And you got
Yeah.
NHL to college and I'm like, hey, I just want to I want to go rip up the roller tournament like in Pennsylvania.
So how did you go from kind of being you said junior B, junior C player to you played out in the BCHL, correct?
Yes, I did.
How did that go? Like how'd you go from that to that so quickly?
I think the biggest thing for me and what I try to preach to all of the kids that I speak with and get to train, I was just so consistent and put in the work every day.
Hmm.
That's like a huge gap personally for me when I learned looking back. I don't look back on it much, but when I do get to look back on it, going from tier three, like pay to play, junior B or C, junior B again. Um, I think around that time I got drafted to the NA. I remember like going to the NA camp and like not even having a chance. Like there was no chance I was making the team, no chance I was playing in the NA that year. Went back to Long Island, played another year that was junior A, played one more year that was the first year of the USPHL, and I remember even that year like being so just frustrated with maybe like ice time and opportunity. And I had younger kids that were all committed D1 already. A couple guys, had to play a couple more years after that year. They went D1 as well. And great players. But at the time I was, 18, 19, and I'm like, this is it for me. Like I started late, no excuse. I've been working extremely hard. I know my skill set, especially from roller hockey. Um, and I was ready for like that opportunity that I had been waiting for. And I was like, maybe it won't happen. Like I assumed my last year of juniors, I might just have to play on the island again. It was just kind of like if you don't get out of there younger or have an opportunity when you're a little bit younger, like getting looked at USHL or like I said, NA, I
Hmm.
didn't even I didn't know anything about the BCHL. This is a crazy short story. I'll keep it short. I went to New York Islanders camp. Gart
Hmm.
Snow invited me. What an honor and what a privilege of playing with the best guys in the universe. And I think I played the best ice hockey I could have ever dreamed of in that week of prospect camp. Score a couple goals, pulled off a shootout move, like just like things that got like in my eyes the most attention ever in ice hockey, which I
Hmm.
was used to that in roller hockey, but I wasn't used to that in ice hockey. And the goalie in the prospect camp was Anthony Puplo, a goalie from Long Island,
Hmm.
and he was signed in merit in the BCHL. And I didn't have a place, like I wasn't even signed for the Long Island team yet. I wasn't signed to play yet. And I remember Garcino asking me a couple questions, and he said, "Hey, well, we could get you a trial, like you did. You opened some eyes, and Anthony Puplo's going there. You could get a trial there as well. What do you think?" And I remember being like, "Heck yeah, I don't care where it is. Like, it's a better league than what I'm playing in. I would love the opportunity." Um, Thanks to Luke Pierce and Joe Martin, I get out there in BCHL, have a couple preseason games. They basically were like, hey, John, like you got to take someone's spot. Like we have Canadian guys here, like signed, ready to go, and you just came out of the woodworks. But show us what you got. And I remember them putting me on like a couple top lines, like with dogs on my line. And he was like, you'll get the opportunity, just like show us your stuff. No problem. I think it was a couple preseason games, and 10 points later, that line we had in preseason never split up the rest of the year. So
Wow.
it was absolutely incredible. And like the VCHL to me was like something I couldn't dream of, because I didn't even have it on my radar. Like when I didn't make the NA, and then I got the opportunity in the BC, I was like, I'm not letting this slip. Like I will be the best player, and all the work I put in for 4 years in juniors, like, is going to pay off now. Like it was my
Wow.
first time moving away, all things like that. But playing with that line all year and having the great opportunity from my coaches, like it ended up being the dream junior hockey year that, I hear all these kids
Awesome.
talk about. So it was great.
That's so awesome. And what a story. I mean, how did Garth Snow invite you to the Islanders camp?
So similar to how I met you, which is this might be the wildest story. I think I maybe told it a couple times. I had two really close friends at the Islanders rink, and we were playing at their practice facility. Every day after practice, the junior team kind of wasn't paying the bills and doing little things like that, and I wasn't involved in it. And I would always push the nets off, and like they'd open the doors early to kick the guys off the ice, and I'd just be like, "Oh, thanks, guys." Like I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't really care, to be honest. It didn't have anything to do with me. So I was just being myself and being nice. And one of the Zamboni guys comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, what do you got going on tomorrow?" I'm like, "Nothing. I think our practice got canceled. Like, season's about over." He's like, "Oh, come to the rink around noon." Okay, I'll be there. No idea what's going on. Show up to the rink around noon. He goes, "Yeah, I get dressed in that locker room. I'm all alone in the locker room." Like, oh, maybe like I'm just skating around a stick and puck, whatever. And I get on the ice, and it's like the staff skate. And I
Oh,
was like the guy that the rink staff brought in to add to the team to play against like the Islander staff. And I just remember it was like Doug Wade and Eric Cairns and like all these
yeah.
guys are like, now I have the honor to like know pretty well. And Garth was out there playing player, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like where am I? Like if my dad only knew like what was going on. And
Yeah.
I got caught so off guard, because I came out of another locker room and then went right
Yeah.
on the ice, and then that was history. And I would keep showing up to those, and just make small talk, kind of like how we did with
Yeah.
yourself. And it was like it was just the craziest thing. Every couple of times they'd be like, "Where are you playing next year?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm not really sure." And then they'd be like, "Where are you training?" And I'd be like, "Oh, like you know I don't train that much. Like it's kind of expensive at these areas, so I do it myself and with my dad." And then eventually it just was like I was there so much. They're like, "Hey, do these things around the rink." I started helping out like kids camps for like Let's Play Hockey, and I was just like kind of like right in the door. And then something happened around prospect camp, and I remember like getting called in his office and being like, "Hey, we're going to invite you to something, like be ready, start skating with these guys. Here's the group, whatever." Like I basically had like full access a couple weeks before the camp, like where I was skating with all the boys and training and in the locker room. And I was like,
Wow.
this is insane. And like no one else in Long Island gets like had that. Like I was so blessed like to have that opportunity and open my eyes to everything. And then I was like, I maybe got something here. And then boom, a couple weeks later, like he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna come to camp." I was like, "Camp?" Like I'm staying in a hotel on Long Island. Like I live right down the road. I'm like, this is the
Yeah.
craziest dream ever.
That is.
Uh, yeah, little fun story is like I was born in '94. My dad's a huge Ranger fan, like
Mhm.
huge. My dad's from the city. My mom's from near the city. And Garth came up to my dad one day, and like they maybe met twice. My dad would come sneak out of work and watch like a little bit of our skates if they were like right after work. He'd fly by and
Sure.
just catch it. And like those were like guys he watched his whole life too. And
Yeah.
the Garth said to him one day, he's like, "You're not a Rangers fan anymore. Johnny's an Islander camp." Like it was just like it was like the
That
coolest
is
thing ever.
yeah. What a
And
story.
that's just
That's
what
unbelievable.
a good hockey world. Like for me, those memories are like incredible. And I just had a blast. Like if I just got to skate with them one time. And I was so thankful for my friends that invited me. Like now they're like family to me. Like these, because like since then, they've moved around. I've played all these places, but like when you look at it from the big picture, like if it wasn't for a couple moments in my life, I I might not be here playing pro hockey for 8 years. Like
Yeah,
that's the coolest part of like just what happens with opportunity and being ready for those chances.
absolutely. And that Zamboni driver, if he didn't see you playing that day, he
Exactly.
was the scout. But that's amazing because I work with so many development camps, and you have your drafted players coming in. There's expenses. They're bringing in people from Europe. All your top picks are coming in, and then what I've seen is that there's a lot of favors by managers to agents to get maybe an undrafted college player in, or an undrafted CHL player into their camps to get them exposure. So those spots are tough to get at development camps, and so that is just amazing. And so what happens after the Islander development camp then?
So right after that was the year I ended up going to the BCHL. So like that was my
Yeah.
first Islanders camp. And like I said, it was like a dream. I probably played the best hockey I could have ever played. I just didn't want to let someone down.
Right.
It was like such a huge opportunity. Like what an honor for our family for me to like be on the island, like have my name on the back of that jersey and the
Yeah.
scrimmage, like be at a rink I've watched games at. We couldn't afford to go to MSG. We were going to the Coliseum to watch all the games. So like
Yeah.
it was absolutely incredible. And I had known friends that were already in the camp years prior that all played D1 and they're trying to pursue pro. And I was like, wow, this is really where it can happen. And then from that, I think I just had so much confidence. And then getting a chance in the BCHL. I don't think it was that long before the BCHL season started. I don't remember perfect, but it was like I ended that camp. I trained a little bit more on Long Island, and then boom, it was like main
Yeah.
camp for the BCHL. So it was kind of like the perfect storm, perfect timing, and then go out there and have the year I had, and then ran into some trouble, which I would love to explain, and it probably a great topic for us to talk about college hockey. I ended up not being able to get in, so after that BCHL year, I had the best year I could have ever dreamed of off of Islander camp, and then because I got homeschooled and was playing roller hockey and traveling around, I didn't have the right credits to pass NCAA clearinghouse,
Okay.
which was to me and my family, we had no idea. Like it
Right.
was just, sideswiped us, shocked us, like had absolutely no idea. And then, so that was my age out year that I did so good in the BCHL. And then went back to Islander camp again the next summer, did well. But at that point, I knew I couldn't go to school. So then I was like, well, I think I'm pursuing pro. I still wasn't sure. 20 years
Mhm.
old, like that was, it was such a whirlwind of like a year and a half. Um, there was a lot to learn, and there was a lot of stuff our family just did not know at all.
But I don't know. I don't, that sucks, obviously. But I mean, there has to be some kind of stipulation or process in place where you could get caught up in what that consists of. I mean, it is what it is, right? But
Yeah.
everything has a purpose. So you must have been flying after that first Islander camp. That you must have been just beaming with confidence when you went to the BCHL, right?
Oh yeah, just
Yeah,
sky high. It was so easy to play, you know,
I
high
can only
pace
imagine.
skill, like and that
Yeah.
league was perfect for how I play. So
Okay. So then what, you signed with an East Coast team or
yeah, so I
American League
went
team?
yeah, I went back to Islanders camp. At the time it was Bridgeport and Kansas
Yeah.
City Mavericks. Um, sign with them, go to Bridgeport, like again, another whirlwind. Like this is all happening so fast. Like I'm in American League camp and I'm like, what? Like couldn't have dreamed of being here 3 years ago. Like
Right.
did okay, like wasn't ready, like wasn't prepared at all, physically, mentally even. It was not even an extremely hard camp. I just saw that there was guys so much ahead. And like those NHL guys that are getting sent down that are like that's their life already. They've already
Mhm.
played 3 years. They've all played games in the NHL. Like they're going to that camp and they're like
Mhm.
absolutely ready, tip top shape, the best players they've ever been to. And I'm like, wow, like this is intense. And then went down to the Mavericks and the ECHL, did good. A lot older team, really good team. A lot of guys sent down at the time. So I think I played like 5 games my first year pro there, and then that's when I figured out other minor leagues.
Hmm.
Ended up playing a bit in the SP that year, and then it was a really short year. I wasn't in the right state of mind. I didn't understand what I was going through. Kind of had like to learn a lot in a short amount of time, and I didn't. And I ended up playing only like 14 games of the SP, and I just went home early. I was like, oh, this like I don't know if this is for me. Like this is quite intense, and no one's like guiding you, and I was just confused. I was just so young and had no idea like how you could go from my first Islander camp to tearing it up in junior, another Islander camp, see American League, and then be in a league I'd never even heard of in the
Hmm.
same year. I was like, where am I going? Macon, Georgia? Like, where is that? Like, they have hockey there? Like, it was, it was the craziest, probably the craziest 2 years I wouldn't take back, but I learned a lot and it made me a lot stronger, at the end
Yeah,
of the day to be where I am now.
that's awesome. And so where did the inline championships, where did that fall into play? Was that when you were younger, or was that it wasn't when you were playing pro hockey, was it?
Yeah, yeah, it was
Okay.
when I was playing pro hockey. So I played one. I don't know if you saw, but we got second place, and it was World Junior. So that was like 21 and under, and they still host those tournaments and stuff. We lost to Czech in the final, so I got silver there. And then when I turned pro was when there's invites to camps, and it was USA Hockey, like IHF, same exact process as the ice side. That was 2017, so it was a little bit into my pro career, and it happens like right after the ice season. So I got invited to camp, and then did well, made the team, and then we flew over to Slovakia, um, played in like the KHL rink, and that was again the IHF World Championship. So that was the last one from IHF and inline. I
Hmm.
think they had it for like 20 years, and then that was the last one. They stopped doing it after that. That was incredible, like just the whole process. And obviously, roller hockey being my biggest passion, and that's the pinnacle. Like you want to make that team, you want to win, gold for your country, and we were able to achieve that in 2017. And then it switched like for Worlds, and it changed to like World Roller Games. And then I ended up making that team in 2019. That was in Bratislava. Oh no, that was in Spain. That was in
Okay.
Barcelona.
Wow.
And that one again was absolutely incredible. We had a powerhouse team again. Kind of knew we were like, going to ramp it up, and that was a huge tournament for me. Like, I didn't get selected at first,
Hmm.
and then was an alternate, and then got picked late because someone couldn't go, and my line mate that I played with like my whole life was already on the team. So it was like, all right, like we're together now, and like I'm in, like got selected late and had a lot of, huge chip on my shoulder, like, you know, went into the
Yeah.
games angry and like, I want to show them the best in the world, and ended up having dream tournament, scoring some huge goals, played great with my line. We kind of like, you play 4-on-4, but you kind of like have your line mates, if that makes sense. Like, so it was like each line was like from a certain area, and it was just perfect. Like our line played great. The rest of our lines played so awesome. We're playing against the best, best countries in the world.
Hmm.
Um, and what an experience, like going to Spain and Barcelona, like we're right on the beach playing, indoor roller hockey. You walk out of the locker room after you take a shower and it's like, boom, like right on the beach.
That's
It was
awesome.
incredible. It was so
That's really,
incredible. Yeah. But those were all through my ice hockey seasons. And for everyone out there, like roller hockey is a similar game, but it's obviously different. Like I said, a 4 on
hmm,
4, there's like not a lot of checking. It's like little bit checking. Um, it's a special teams game similar to ice hockey. But yeah, like I said, it's a huge, huge passion of mine, and it's not huge everywhere, especially if you're from Canada. There's not a ton of indoor inline hockey going on, but like you said, St. Louis is a hotbed. California
yeah.
is the biggest hotbed you could ever dream of, and I
Hmm.
was lucky to have a good area: Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, um, where you could just grow up playing it.
That's awesome. And talk about perseverance, like making that second championship team. Like you just, you know, had that experience going from the Islanders to the BCHL. Now you're not making that team, but you're leaning on your experience from doing it with an NHL organization. That's just phenomenal. And I always remember, like, I train a lot of roller players out in California, and I just remember their hands being phenomenal. You know, I had Bobby Ryan on a recent episode, and we're talking about his transition from the roller game to the ice game. And yeah, it's just the kids who are playing it later on, their hands are phenomenal. And it's so we'll get into like what you're doing now. I mean, obviously, what I respect about you is that, you know, you can't just play pro hockey in the SPHL and train in the off seasons, go back. You have a lot of stuff going on that's really cool. And you kind of, you know, you're playing pro hockey and you have your businesses going on. I think that's really neat. Like you probably don't need to play. You're playing because you want to play, right? And I think that's phenomenal. And so talk about how, you know, you're able to play 9 years pro hockey, but talk about your other ventures you have going on. Like, I know you're an entrepreneur with a clothing line and also your skills clinics and facility in Egan. So talk about that. How did that all come about, and you know, what's your journey there?
Yeah, so I think the working side I learned really young. I was lucky to be around, the Islanders organization where I was doing camps and working with kids. I was always doing at the local roller rink as well. And I loved it. It was just something that I truly loved. I always come back to like didn't have a ton of like one-on-one lessons or maybe didn't have any growing up. Um, would do the big camps and things like that, but not a lot. So I just realized like, oh wow, I have like a niche for teaching, like, and I it fulfills me almost as much as when I'm playing. And I think I just learned that so young, and seeing how thankful the kids are and the parents, and working on skills especially, which I feel like that's my forte. It was just easy. It was like easy for me to always do. So when I was young, I was always doing that. Um, right before the pandemic, the year before the pandemic, I built a roller rink in my backyard in New York.
Hmm.
Luckily, my parents let me destroy the backyard and fill it up with a rink. But at the time, I was doing ice camps in Long Island, which were way more expensive. And then I built and put all my savings into building a small training rink in our backyard so I could train kids there as well. And it worked out great because I could save some parents some money, do smaller group lessons. I believed in training on wheels and sneakers. Like that's all I did my whole life and got to where I was. So I was like,
Hmm.
it's not really happening. So let's try to do this. Fast forward a bit, I was already with Kelly, my partner, my wife, and we're in Minnesota through the pandemic. Nothing's going on. Similar after that is when I met you, and just looking for a space because we already have a clothing company, and at the time it was called Goodwood Hockey. We changed it to Best Shift Hockey, so that's the apparel. So we were already working on that together, getting it out there. Just lifestyle brand, girls, boys, men, women, the whole nine yards. Everything for just a hockey fan lifestyle apparel brand. And then I knew I really wasn't going back to New York. And I was like, well, now I lost all those clients unless I go back. The facility was kind of just in our property and backyard. So it's like, well, pandemic, like everything's locked down. Like we can't have anyone come over to our house. And like,
Hmm.
even though it's outside, like there were so many things frowned upon at the time, and no one, it was just the unknown. So it was like,
Yeah.
well, like, it's just going to be shut down for however long. And then we found a small spot in Egan. Um, I just saw the vision right away.
Hmm.
It's new to us, and it's definitely new to Minnesota. And we started Best Shift Training, and it's small gym, like small
Hmm.
gym area as you saw, and then it's a roller hockey rink. The roller hockey rink has sport court, so it's perfect for us to train on Mars blades, on wheels, and on sneakers. And that was the goal, just bringing something that I know better than anything, I feel like, to the area of Egan and to Minnesota just in general. And it's been super exciting. Obviously, it's caught on pretty well. I think it'll start catching on faster as we start growing. And last summer was kind of the first summer of us even being open. And we started definitely late because by the time my season was over and I got back home, the gym wasn't even finished yet. Um, so it's been super exciting. But no, it was an honor to have you by and check it out. And
Yeah.
Kelly and I are working our tail off. We have a ton of great coaches around us. Eddie Matsushima, he's another ECHL player. Tommy Muck, he plays with me here in the ECHL. But I think going back to what you said in the beginning, like I knew at a really young age I wouldn't be able to play if I didn't have these side hustles and things that I have going. The other thing is like I want to do that the rest of my life, so I want to start it while I'm playing because you use all your connections while you're playing. I think kids still get excited. Like some of our clients would come in the summer and like they'd see us and the coaches like on NHL 23. And like, even though we're not in NHL, like we're in the
Right.
ECHL, like still like
Yeah.
little things that you're
Yeah.
like, he's like, hey, we were playing with all you guys. We put you on a team together. And it's like, that stuff's, it really
That's neat.
cool and
Yeah.
it hits the right way. So, um, yeah, it's just really exciting. But I knew that playing in the minors, just not making enough money. Like you're definitely not. Like you get free living and you get other things, but you just do not make enough money to not be working hard in the off season on something else, or you're working a construction job, or you're working something totally outside of hockey. So that's why I was so thankful. Kelly and I are grinding away, and my parents always understood. Like, I was living at home those first couple of years, getting back from the minors and just working all at the rink all day long, roller ice rink, and just trying to save as much money as you could. So when you go away to the season, you aren't, too stressed out.
Right. Oh, that's great. And so yeah, that's in Egan, and then there's a store in front of the facility. It's a pretty cool facility. So definitely check it out. There's a clothing store, and then you go back, and then you can just see it's like your happy place. It's your vision. It's your passion right there as you walk into that roller rink, the roller area and shooting area, skills area. So what do you do with kids there then? Are you working on their hands, their shots, their all of it?
Yeah, yeah, all of it, absolutely all of it. We really focus on the hands, the shot. I truly love the surface for the passing too.
Mm-hmm.
As we were talking about, like it's a roller sport court, so the ice puck kind of drags a little bit. So you really got to be, focusing on it to make the puck slide smooth. And when you're ripping those pucks, like it's not going to be as smooth as the ice. But then when you transition back to the ice, seamless. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to make you stronger and feel more comfortable and feel more confident. Like that puck isn't going to jump on you on the ice like it ever could in our gym. Um, and yeah, definitely specific. It's the three: passing, shooting, stick handling,
Mm-hmm.
which is like that's the stuff I love the most. And
Yeah,
you
that's
probably see
awesome.
the smile on my face. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
exactly what I love. Seeing kids accomplish their little goals and grow in front of our eyes. Like that was the best thing um, that I'd done in Minnesota yet. And then kids playing through the season and being like, it
better,
helped so much. Like it
better.
was
Yeah,
great, and that's the goal. I mean, that's the absolute
it's
goal.
awesome. I mean, you look at the NHL players, they all have, their skills people, whether it's, Adam Oates or, Daryl Belfry, those guys. So I think, what that does trickle down. Like, I think, if the NHL guys have skills coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, their own masseuse, chiropractors, etc., it does trickle down. So it's like, I want to get to that level. Okay. And so what can I do? And I think you have kids with that mentality of like, I want to get better. And when you offer something like that with the proof that it helps you, that's really good. So that's awesome. That's really neat.
Yeah, really, and I'm really excited for this upcoming year. Obviously, some players in Minnesota are finishing their season now and already reaching out to us to start coming
That's
in over
great.
this next month or 2 months. And then we have the standard camps going on in the summer where it's an hour and a half, and they're we're maxing them out really small groups because of the area. Um, but it's super exciting. The fact that we get to work on skills, and we have the Mars Blade sponsorship, so a lot of players in Minnesota, because of the pandemic, learned more about roller hockey, where like other
Mm-hmm.
people might just have known about Mars blades. But a skate and a frame that makes you feel as close as you can to being on the ice. Obviously, nothing's like being on ice, but it's the closest thing you could get. And then some of the kids just love coming in training on sneakers, whether it's just stick handling, stationary, doing shooting drills, working on like weight transfer, things like that. Again, it was just like the dream of making that facility come true and showing that the proof is there, and
Yeah,
now just growing and
that's
growing and
awesome.
growing in our area.
That is so cool. So what are you doing right now? Where are you right now? You're on the road somewhere?
Yeah, we're on the road, so we had to practice here in a little bit. We're in Utah. We play the Grizzlies in a 3-3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, classic ECHL schedule on the road.
Yeah, that Sunday game that's a lot of guts and determination by all parties involved there. And that's fun though, right? You're with the boys and hanging out at the hotel, and you guys pregame skate.
Yep. So pregame skate. We're actually in one day early, which is huge. Sometimes you don't get that in the minor leagues, and I think for you, you'll get a chuckle. Like we fly Southwest still, so all the bags are coming off the Southwest thing, and
Yeah,
everyone's chipping in, loading the bus, and bring it to the rink. So we got in late last night, had some dinner. Today we'll
nice.
practice. Have a team meal tonight, and then you got the morning skate Friday, play all weekend. But yeah, sometimes it's a grind. 72 game season. You got to
Yeah,
enjoy the grind, which I definitely do. I wouldn't be doing it,
no,
for
that's
any
so
other
awesome.
reason. And it's yeah, it's fun when you hear some stories on like some other podcasts. I love listening to hockey podcasts and hearing the
Yeah,
journey of guys that play in the NHL that started here or had a stint in the American League. Like
right.
you relate to it so perfect. Like it's like
Yeah,
we're going through it too, and it doesn't change. Like still drive the sleeper bus, and you're taking those long road trips, but a trip like this where I could look out and see some mountains is a beautiful weekend.
that's awesome. That is so cool, man. Hey, talk about how can people find you? I know you have a pretty cool Instagram page. Um, you're always posting videos and all that. I think that's great. How could yeah, talk about like your websites, your social media handles, and
Yeah,
all that.
absolutely. Thank you. My social media for my personal self is at J Schiavo 44. So JSCHIAVO 44. And that's on basically every single platform: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok and Instagram is kind of the bigger two right now. And then for our training, bestshifttraining.com, and then the clothing, bestshifthockey.com. And those handles are just Best Shift Training, Best Shift Hockey on all the platforms. But we have all the camps coming up this summer. Have ice out in Orono, which is our first time doing this, which is super, super exciting. We have all the way from mites through the rest of the age groups to high school. We'll have a junior session going on our side of town in Egan,
Mhm.
with a couple great coaches involved in that, and super excited to see where the gym goes, and for all the small groups and lessons, and this quote unquote new roller hockey training in the area.
Hmm.
Hopefully we get a ton of people to come check it out, and we'll have you out again,
Yeah,
have your kids out again, and get some training in together.
no, that'd be fun. And really, again, thanks for coming on today. I think you're a guy that people should get to know just because of your journey. Like that's and what you're doing today. I think that's pretty remarkable, and I appreciate you taking the time to come on.
No, an honor to. Thanks for having me on, and can't wait to continue doing this, and can't wait to see it grow.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks, John. I really appreciate it, buddy. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Good luck in
Thank you.
Utah. Thank you.